Get you some important opinion. He's one of the first global commentators to identify that China has a clear debt problem. Speaking exclusively to CNBC, Ruchir Sharma of Morgan Stanley says the reason why the US markets are not as worried about Donald Trump making it to the White House is the inherent belief that the robust regulatory framework in the country will ensure established procedures are not disturbed. Take a look.
I think that the next downturn is going to be made in China, like everything else these days. So really feel that every single economic boom has come to an end when that country has taken on too much debt. And that's what China has done. So there are very few golden rules in the world of economics. But if there's one golden rule I can point to, it's the kiss of debt. That when a country takes on too much debt over a 5 to 7 year time horizon, that country always gets into trouble. And no developing country in history has taken on as much debt as China has taken on since 2008. US versus China, I'm much more optimistic on the United States than China over the next 5 years or so.
Even with Trump, you're still calling him a good billionaire, even though I think you're calling him a bad good billionaire or something like that, right? And what you mean by that is that the billionaires we have in this country, Mark Zuckerberg, he didn't inherit that money. Bill Gates didn't inherit the money. It wasn't through necessarily crony capitalism. Maybe we've got a little bit on the edges in some parts.
There's no way that a billionaire in Russia, Mexico, Brazil, even India, would be able to make a run for the top office because they are so vilified in those countries.
In conflict, but they with good reason in some cases.
Because like in those countries, they're sort of seen as people who make their wealth because of their connections with the government or because they've inherited a large part of the wealth. In that regard, the United States is relatively better, that we haven't reached that point as yet where we have so many bad billionaires that there's a backlash which begins to build up against those, against the rich in the country. But I go back to my original point. There are two important points about Trump here. One, the fact that he's a billionaire and no one's holding that against him. In many other countries, that would be really against him. But here's the more important point. That if in like any other country, especially like in the emerging markets, if you had a character like Trump who was rising so fast in the polls, the financial markets would be in complete panic out there. You would have a collapse in the stock markets. You would have a run on the currency. Why is that not happening here?
Larry Summers has an op-ed today saying he's surprised that the Trump panic isn't bigger than the Brexit panic at this point.
But you know why? Because I think there's real faith out here that the institutions are so strong, the checks and balances are so strong that no matter who comes to power, it won't make much of a difference.
Okay, that's a very important statement. No man is bigger than any institution, so the rise of Trump may not impact US markets. Perhaps just like the fall of Governor Rajan may not impact our markets too much.